I think the first race that really impressed me was a speedboat race around Malta when I was about 12. And once that got under my skin, it never left. Anything for a race, even today. Nick Torregiani, age 69, retired. I think the passion started when I was very young. I think it came from my sister, because she was older and she was into cars. Her husband at the time were into cars as well. It was great fun. We used to go out and play around, and then she got me this Fiat 600 with suicide doors. It was painted with Brolac. And we used to go and learn how to drive, you know. And my grandfather was into cars as well. One of the first cars in Malta he actually built. He had an engineering shop down at the flour mill in Warsaw, and he decided that he was going to build himself a car. And he did. The last car he had was this Rolls Royce that was used as a state car, and it was the passion of his life. And my dad was into it as well, you know. He had old Rileys and MGs. He had the 300 SE Coupe. He had the first Pagoda car here, the 230 SL. He had the Fossil Vega, which Gerald Zambit has. You know, and my dad was into racing boats. I had a garage down in Spirola Bay. One day we were out. I saw this boat which I fell in love with. It was for sale, hanging up against the wall. We bought it and I used to race it. It was a hydroplane, and it was great. It was great fun. You know, that whole garage with you know, I had about 4 or 5 boats there, and there was always a nice group of people who used to spend the summer there, you know, and go out and race. And there was a lot of racing there in those days, in the late 60s. I had a lot of passion for it. And eventually I designed and built a speedboat of my own, you know, when I was a bit older. Obviously the funds were small, so the boat had to be small, but it was good. It was very satisfactory. My racing life ended with the boats, because the club disbanded, and there was no racing at all on the island. And then eventually the karting club started, and I went up and started to race with those guys up at Hull Far. Hull Far still belonged to the British Services, and it was in fact the British that organised the kart club and allowed us to go and race with them. There was a guy in Slema, the Slema garage it was, and I knew the guy, and he'd come round to me, round at Fontadir, around the corner where I lived. We'd put the cart in the boot of his Vauxhall, and he'd take me up. You know, I didn't have a driving license. I must have been about 16, 17. All the old racers, they all started there. Obviously Joe and David and Aldo Laferla. But the cars I started thanks to my sister, really, Carol. And she got me into it. And we'd go up to Armir at night. She had an Aston DB3, and she'd go racing up the hill against some Anglia or something like that. But it was always in the family, you know. This is, I think, where it all comes from, really.